Eric, aka Rocky, didn't know we had a second Rocky on the planet, but we do. We have our one and only Rocky Schurr has been a member of Toastmasters since 2007 and found home competing in speech contests. Since then, Eric has won the District 6 championships and advanced to the semifinals of the World Championship of Public Speaking in 2015. Eric is a budding public speaking coach, sharing his love for speaking and the skills he's learned throughout his Toastmasters journey to help others bring their speaking to a whole new level. Today, Rocky will be sharing his tips and techniques on how to own the stage. Own the stage? Take it away, Rocky.
Thank you so much, Colleen Marie, and thank each and every one of you for having me here. Do you want to know the secret to owning the stage? The secret is, it's not just your stage. This is everybody's stage. And if you're treating it like I'm up here and everybody else is out there, you have already put yourself at a serious disadvantage. This is not just a serious lecture. This is a celebration. And if I invite you to a celebration, I'm not going to have you sitting outside my house looking in my window while I all have all the fun on the inside. No, I want you all to come on in. I want you all to be here. The best celebrations are ones where everybody feels included and engaged. So today I'm going to walk you through every step of the process. When do you show up? Make sure you show gratitude for that invite. Get everybody on stage with you. Let them decorate your stage, keeping your stage simple and consistent. And most important, keep the celebration moving. A quick tip before we get into it. Make sure you have your chat open. There is once or twice in this workshop where I'm going to have people absolutely blow up and massacre the chat with all of their ideas and everything else. So be ready to pop as much as you want to in a chat. There'll be a Q&A session at the end of the session where you can ask any questions. So with so much, hopefully, being put in the chat, if I could have you folks keep an eye out for questions from me in the chat as well, that would be much appreciated. So raise your voice, pop everything you want in the chat. This is a celebration. Everybody gets a chance to talk. Ready to get into it? Okay, when to show up? Here's a question. In a speech contest, when does your performance start? Someone can shout it out.
As soon as you're seen.
Thank you so much. That is the absolute right answer. Hall of Fame boxer Bernard Hopkins, after a huge win, was asked, Bernard, when did you know you had this fight won? And his answer was, when I signed the contract. What does that mean to us? The great performers know your performance starts way before they announce your name. So don't wait for your name, speech title, name to get in the character. Don't wait to be great. As soon as you get there, as soon as you're in the meeting, talk to people, smile, make people feel good about themselves, brighten the room. Why? Because people start forming opinions about you the very moment you either turn your video on, possibly even sooner. Don't wait to be great. Once your name is called, start with gratitude. You have been invited to this awesome celebration, this great stage. Make sure you show that gratitude to your host. Walk up, eyes on them, shake their hand. I like to put the second hand in for the glove. I like to do a bow. Do whatever you do to show gratitude. And then make sure they get home safe. Make sure they get to their seat. Make sure that they're set in their video screen if you're online. Then you can make eye contact and smile with the crowd. Then you can engage. So start with gratitude. You can turn a lot of people off If you walk up on that stage acting like you'd rather be somewhere else or that you don't appreciate being there, start with gratitude. Next, get everybody on your stage. Of course, we can't have them physically on our stage, but we need to engage them. We need to do something in the first few seconds just to make sure their eyes, their minds, their ears, their hearts, their soul are in this room with us. Number of ways you can do that. If your speech involves a story, bam, hit them with that story right away. Especially if you have a moment in the beginning of your speech where something's tense or there's a problem, you're in the middle of a situation. Skip that setup, just boom, hit them with the tense situation so that you can pass your message and how you got out of it. Set that stage, start the story right away. If you have more of an informational speech, then hit them with a question. Do you want to know the secret of owning the stage? That's how I pulled you in. And if for some odd reason that fails as well, and you just can't come up with a question, then hit them with a fascinating fact. Something to pull them on the stage with you. Whatever it is that makes you passionate about this speech, hit them with that right away so that they can become passionate on the speech. Get everybody on your stage. A great way to keep them on your stage is to be in the now. It's okay to hear about things that happened a while ago, things that happened in the past, but it's so much better to reenact them, to let them relive it with you. Whatever story you're telling, whatever experience you're sharing, act like it's happening for the first time. We throw in so many extra details when we're talking about something in the past. Say, I came in off the street. I walked into the dive bar. On the left wall, I could see beer signs with neon lights. In the back of the room, I could hear people throwing darts at the dartboards. That's talking about something that happened a while ago. So people are going to think about it as a while ago. But let's talk through that as if we were just going through it now. I go into the bar. Ooh, them lights are bright. I want to take one of them beer lights home. Snap, snap, snap. People are throwing darts at the back of the bar. Not only did that bring that experience a little more to life, notice it was quicker and easier for me to say. More effect, less words. So again, bring everyone in the now so that they can experience for themselves the sights, the sounds. And while you're doing it, be emotional. BJ already did an awesome job of telling us how we can use emotions during our speech. Here's a tip about emotions. Don't tell them, show them. There is minimal reason in your speech why you should be able to say, I was scared. I was happy. I was depressed. If you're happy, I should be able to hear it in your voice that you're happy. Oh my God, this is absolutely amazing. If you're sad, I should be able to hear that you're sad. I should be able to see it in your face. I should be able to see it in your eyes. Your eyes are a huge tool for engaging people. Do not ignore them. If you want to keep it simple, think of the rules of three. Am I looking at you with normal eyes? Am I questioning you? Am I suspicious of you? So am I squinting at what you're saying? Or am I surprised? Do I have the wide eyes? Rule of three. But think about this. Am I burning holes in you with my eyes? Am I that mad that I'm burning holes with my eyes? Or am I a little more shy and trying to avoid the eye contact? You should see it in your eyes, the emotions. Your voice. Jim talked about the voice. But again, if Jim gave a lot of information, if you want to keep it simple, because I'm not nearly as talented as Jim, just think rule of three. Am I talking loud? Or am I talking quiet? Or am I talking in the middle? There's a time and place for everything. Not only use your voice, but think about your breaths. You can have strategic breaths. So if something surprises me, throw a breath in there. Just set me up for something to say. Or there's the disappointed breath where, hey, honey, I'm going to run out real quick. I'm going to get some food. I'll be right back. We're going to be good. Could you take the kids with you? That trip is no longer going to be real quick. Think about how you can use strategic breaths. So again, your face, your eyes, your voice. More importantly, show emotions in real speed. Some emotions are fast, some emotions are slow. What's that, honey? We're going to the buffet tonight? Oh, I'm going to give myself some sesame chicken. Oh, I'm going to get that sweet and sour pork. Oh, I'm going to get the egg drop soup. Oh, cream cheese wontons. Have you ever had cream cheese wontons? Oh, they are absolutely amazing. And then there's slow emotions where I just lost my job. Everything I worked for is at risk. What am I going to do? Do the emotions in real time. If an emotion is fast, then talk fast. If emotion is slow, then talk slow. Sometimes emotions are slow getting fast. Sometimes they're fast getting slow. Think about this. Oh, honey, I got a good idea. Let's watch this movie tonight. It's called Corn. It's going to be super awesome. It's all about corn, how they make it and everything else. And you don't really seem like you're all that interested in watching a movie about corn. Or maybe you're slow going fast. I won the lottery. What am I going to do? Oh my God, I'm gonna get a boat. I'm gonna get a new car. Everybody in this room is gonna get themselves a 2-liter bottle of wild cherry Pepsi and a party-sized bag of Cheetos. Slow, going fast. Make sure the emotions, tell the emotions in real speed. So you achieve that emotional roller coaster that has already been talked about today. Next, let your audience decorate your space. What? What kind of celebration are you running here, Rocky? Why in the world would you let your guests decorate your space? I want to walk through an activity with you. Someday, I'm going to emotionally scar you by telling you my Elvis sock story. And that Elvis sock story happens in 3 different places. There's my work. There's my car. And then the whole thing wraps up at home. Here's the place where I told you I'm going to have you blow up the chat. Everybody, right now, start typing in the chat. What are some things that you would see at your work? Just one word things. What are things? We got a desk. We've got a laptop. We've got computers. We've got coworkers, phone, monitor, headset, people, Zoom windows. Woo, coworkers, coffee, bed to work from home. They got the bed, computer mice. Yeah, keep them coming in. Keep them coming in. All right, now, but while we're moving on, let's go to the car. Tell me about something you might see in your car. All right, we got the steering wheel. We've got the speedometer. We've got the coffee mug, trash, GPS, shoes, snow remover, cell phone holder, cup holder, other cars. Yeah, water bottle, floor mat, rear view mirror. Absolutely, windows. Of course, look at all these things that we see in the car. Absolutely. These things are going to come and play later. And we got a second vote for trash, windshield wipers, and the side mirror. Dust. I love these answers. Super awesome. Waiting room is full of angry customers. That must be for the work one. Frozen water bottle. I got one of those in my car right now. All right. So let's move on to the last one. Home. Tell me about something you would see at home. Go ahead, pop in the chat. We got a cat, we got a couch, we got animals, we got snow, we got dog, family, Alexa, dog and cats, family members, Legos, oh, Legos, mwah, dirty dishes, cat trees, clothings, crowns and ball gowns. Amazing. All right, dishes, sofa, seatbelt, food and zoo, cakes, toys. Now, what I want you to think about, first of all, thank you all for popping everything in the chat. You are an awesome crowd. Notice, even with the one-word prompt, work, car, home, all these images come to mind. Even if I had not asked you to pop all these things in chat, word association, when I say these words, your brain, without me asking, without you even thinking about it, automatically fills in all these pictures. It paints the picture in your own mind. So let me hear from you. Why? Why should we let our audience, why should we let everybody on our stage decorate our stage? There's two big reasons that I can think of.
Because it becomes their stage.
Thank you so much. Yes, that is a huge reason. They personalize it. Okay, some of the things I see at work aren't things that you see at work. I used to, at least before working from home, worked in an office. If someone works in a mechanic, auto garage, they're going to see things I don't see. I'm going to see things they don't see. But you know what? None of that matters. You know, sometimes, unless there are specific things I need to point out, work is work. Sometimes, no matter what type of place you work at, you know, there's similarity things. If you're painting your own picture, it's yours. So the second reason that we let other people decorate our stage is so we don't have to. There's a couple things I want you to remember here. Now let me put a few things up here. What I want you to notice is that I'm just gonna pick one. I'm actually gonna draw pictures. I got steering wheel. My steering wheel looks like a peace sign. All right. So for the car, here's my steering wheel for the car. For my work, I'm gonna draw a picture of a desk. And I'm gonna tell you where the desk is. And home, somebody said couch. I love couch. So let me I'm actually gonna write couch. You probably can't see me right now. So let's put couch up there. Okay. Number 2 reason to let your audience, to let everybody at your celebration decorate your place for you is so that you don't have to. Think about this. If I had done all the painting, I told you where my desk was, I told you where my coworkers was, I tell you where everything was. I have to stay consistent with where that stuff is. And the more I tell you where stuff is, the less your brain puts into it. So I want to stay minimalistic with when I tell you where stuff is. So if I only want to paint, I only want to tell you where something is. If it supports my story or if it supports the message. So if I'm acting out, if I'm reenacting, working at my desk, I want to make sure I'm reenacting working at my desk. I'm in the same area. My movement, my body language needs to stay consistent. Now, here's the thing. If you originally in your mental picture, you had the desk actually over here, no problem. Your brain will adjust like that. If I tell you my desk is over here, and then a couple minutes later in my speech, I tell you my desk is over here, well, now I've created inconsistency, and inconsistency causes confusion. So let your audience paint your stage so that they will always know where something is unless you tell them differently. Now, let me say something because BJ put something amazing she said something amazing in her presentation, that by describing something, you add color. I would call it flavor. We all call it something. So here's a tip. You can describe something as much as you want to. You can add as much color and flavor as you want to without telling them where something is. There's a vase of flowers. I can tell you everything about those flowers and why they are so beautiful. I don't have to tell you where they are. Your brain, let people's brain do the work for you. They can tell you where that stuff is. So again, if my desk is here, my desk should be here for in my entire speech. My steering wheel, my steering wheel is right here. And my couch, which I did upside down, if I tell you where these things are, for consistency's sake, they should remain there the entire time. Another reason to keep it simple. Remember, does anyone know the narrative of the principle of Chekhov's gun? Okay, I've got a couple heads nodding. I think more of you are familiar with it. You just haven't heard it called Chekhov's gun. The principle is that if I'm telling a story and there's a gun on the wall, and I pay attention to that, I put a spotlight on it, at some point, that gun must go off. So remember, keep this in mind when you're painting your own stage. If you're telling everybody where everything is, you are putting in there details that probably don't need to be there. So make sure you're being consistent. Next, introduce your friends. Here we are, we're all at the celebration. We're having fun, we're eating, we're playing games, we're having a good time. Do you see Colleen Marie over there? Oh, Colleen Marie, she is awesome. She's so good. She's so nice. She's a Toastmasters. She is huge in the Toastmasters. Oh my God, let me tell you about all the things she does. Why would I do that when I could just say, hey, someone you have to meet, come over here. Colleen Marie, guest, Colleen Marie. Why tell everybody everything about someone when you can introduce them to it? And the way you do that in a speech is through dialogue. You know, don't tell me, well, my friend told me this, and then we did this, and then my friend told me this. No, act through it, have dialogue. My buddy Eli plays drums for one of my bands. Grew up in New York, so he's got kind of that accent going on. And Eli, if I write something really cool, he just makes me work for his affection. I'll come in, hey, Eli, I wrote this brand new song. Oh, it's awesome. You got to hear it. And I go, all right, let's hear it. I'll play it. It's all right. It's all right. Don't mess it up. Include that dialogue because that lets your audience get to know your characters. You are introducing them to their friends rather than trying to let it all ride on words and trying to describe what that person is all about. Here's where I want to spend a good chunk of time, which is you have to keep the party moving. What holds people's attention? Movement. But first, let's dispel a myth. How many of you heard that you should use the entire stage? You don't have to use the entire stage. You know what I've never seen? I've never seen someone cover the entire stage with baby powder, and then after a speaker got done, they went out there and were looking for spots that didn't have footprints in them. And I'm never going to see it. Hopefully I never do see it. You don't need to use the entire stage. You need to use just enough of the stage. But enough to what? Number one, enough to engage everyone in your celebration. And number two, to illustrate your story so that people know where you're at in your story. How to engage your entire audience. I like to break it up again in the rule of thirds. I've got my left audience, my center audience, my right audience. And I cater my movements around that. You may be a part of your story where there's really nothing going on over here, but you still want to keep them engaged. So to make sure I add movement in it, you want your movement to have purpose. So the way I add purpose to it is I'll look to left audience, make eye contact with one of them. Once I have that eye contact, now I can move in a little closer. So now I will move in a little closer. and I will talk to the people left out audience. For my next point, I want to make center audience. So I move over eye contact, then close the gap and talk to my center audience. Right audience, and my next point, go over, talk to them. We tend to break up our points into three sections anyways. Rule of three, it's a beautiful thing. So if you got 3 sections audience and 3 points, break each point in your audience. Make them feel like you are talking directly to them. So in order to make sure that movement has purpose and all this comes together at the same time, make that eye contact, walk in, tell them your point. This gives you a little more chance to move without having it be a part of your story. Let's talk to my online people. You, of course, you have a room full of people you can make eye contact with. But to make eye contact with you, I've got one webcam that I'm looking at right now. But first, a note of forgiveness. I've been watching boxing and studying boxing since I was 9 years old. So I use a lot of boxing analogies. But you need to use angles. And who are great at using angles? Boxers. So even though I have one webcam, one place to feast my eyes, I have multiple angles I can look at that webcam from. If I want to look at this audience, change my angle. I'm still looking at that audience. I'm still looking at the same webcam. But as you can see, I'm addressing a certain group of people. My center audience, I center myself and I talk to those people. Oh, this audience over there, I'm now talking to you. Hey, let me shout out some love to the people in the back. And let me tell some more secrets to the people in the front. So yeah, I only have one webcam to look at. But you notice how I can use my angle to make it look like I'm addressing multiple people. When you do this, notice it's okay if you're telling a story to let your eyes drift a little bit from the webcam. Just point a little bit past or look a little bit past the webcam. It's okay. Just make sure you still have that engagement. So again, even if you're online, you can still address your entire audience. You can still make them all feel included. There's some people that don't want to move. Honestly, I didn't want to move for years and years and years and years. Why? Because I've never been a graceful person. And the last thing I want to happen is me walking over here and I'm clumsy about it. I'm lumbering around. Everybody who can move right now, do me a favor. Let's stand up. If you want to stay seated, that's fine. But anybody who can stand up easily, go ahead, give yourself some space in front of you. And what I want you to do is I want you to take 3 normal steps forward and then stop. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, stop. Okay, we took 3 steps there, but a 4th thing happened. What was that? On the 3rd step, we lurched forward a little bit. Because through those 3 steps, we created momentum. Well, maybe we dial it back to 2, or dial it back to 2 and say 1, 2, and stop. Still happened. Even though I took 2 steps, 3rd part happened. I lurched forward a little bit. Because again, we're creating that momentum. So when you move, making sure you move with purpose, especially online, your movements can be subtle. Move 1 foot at a time. So here I am. I'm in my speaking stance. I want to get a little bit closer. I move 1 foot. The lurch forward almost disappears. Want to get a little closer. 1 foot forward. 1 foot forward. 1 small step at a time. I'll push it even further. Again, I learned balance from watching boxers because boxers need to be able to throw punches, dodge punches, move, everything. And at any given moment, they still have their balance. So I want you, here's another exercise you can do. I want you to pick your strong leg. And when I say strong leg, I mean the foot or the leg that you can have your entire weight on and you feel the most comfortable. If you're right-handed, might be your right leg. If you're left, might be your left leg. Choose what's comfortable for you. Lock that foot to the floor. This is going to be your anchor. So right now I'm standing with my feet perfectly parallel to each other. This is my narrator stance. My speech isn't moving forward. It's not moving backwards. I'm either setting it up. We're between rounds. Just nothing's really going on. I'm just maybe setting the stage a little bit. Now it's time to start my speech. I take a small step forward. We're in motion. We're on the attack. We're progressing with our speech. Now shift your weight onto your front foot. I'm even closer. I'm telling you a secret. I'm saying something that means I'm leaning into what I'm telling you right now. Now we can do it the opposite direction. So if I go back to my squared up stance, feet parallel, well, now I'm on the defensive. I take a small step back. And now I'm protecting myself from something. So now I'm going to shift my weight and lean on my back foot. So we got yet another layer of movement. So think about this. We've got, as far as positions, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And my strong leg never left its spot. 5 different positions, never left my strong leg. This is how we keep our balance. So that's just front and backwards though. A little more intricate for side to side. And again, we'll go back to boxer's footwork, which is if I need to move to my left, what I will do, before I get there, let's talk about what stance you should have, or I use. I'll say I use. You decide what works for you. I choose, when I'm normally talking, to have my front foot forward a little bit, so that not only is it a little ahead of my front foot, but it's also a little more to the left, and this one's a little more to the right. So when I move to the side, whatever direction I want to go, my lead foot goes that way, and my other foot just close the gap. Same thing, if I want to move right now, small step, close the gap. Everything, or one leg at a time, small steps. So that way you make sure you maintain your balance, but at the same time, you're getting to be where you want to be. Step and pivot. And don't be afraid to bend your knees either. So again, the movement. So you want to engage your audience. That's how you move to engage your audience. But there's another reason to make sure you have good movement. And that's so you can, again, let them know where you are in your speech. Remember, I have a 3-part story in my Elvis sock story. When I'm talking about being at work, I want to be in my work mode. Remember, your brains have already painted where work is going to be. This is where I told you work was going to be. So this is when I'm talking about being at work, this is where I should be. Now, from work, I get in my car to go home. But while I'm in my car, I should be here. Not only should I be here, but where's my steering wheel at? My steering wheel is to the left of me. I'm going to turn a little bit, and I'm driving my steering wheel towards home. So my story is consistent. If I'm turning towards you during my steering wheel, home's that way. What the hell are you doing, Rocky? Which direction are you going? So again, I want to use my steering wheel to go home. And then when I get home, I'm at home. So as you go through your speech, good movement. If you have 3 different places in your speech, make sure that when you're in that part of your story, you are at least near that place in your speech. Keep it consistent. So that's another great reason to use movement, to illustrate which part of your story that you are in. Enough about movement. Let's talk about energy. Someone touched on energy, but let me see if I can, simplify it in terms. When I say energy, when we say we need to inject a lot of energy into our speeches, it's not about hyperactivity. If hyperactivity is your only choice, like is my case, use it. The only reason hyper works for me, I like to do things in hyper high because I love you all so much and I just enjoy seeing all your beautiful faces. The only reason, or at least the biggest reason why that works for me, is because I am naturally and genuinely a hyper person. If I've worked and spent time with a lot of the people on this call, and some of you have a very smooth demeanor, so that should be your energy. It's about being who you are. When people tell you be yourself, take the cheesiness out of it. by taking the message that you should be genuine. Because the biggest energy that you want to present while you're up on stage is sincerity. Say things like you mean them. Say things the way you would normally say it. My coach asks me all the time, Eric, is this part believable? Is it believable? The number one way to make sure what you're presenting and talking through and reenacting is believable is to make sure it is as natural as possible. So be yourself, be genuine, be sincere. I think now would be a good time to get into a bit of Q&A. Let's have that Q&A session if anyone has any questions whatsoever. And then after that, I'll do my closing and talk just a little bit about the handout. Does anyone have any questions before I close?
Rocky, I have one for you.
Yes.
One of the things that I discovered in a recent presentation when I got my feedback was that I used a lot of hand motion, but I used the same motion all the time. And it was this. I just kept doing the same thing over and over again. So my motion was there, but it was stereotyped. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I love it. And I hear the same thing all the time. A lot of us have the habit of talking with our hands. And when you're an energetic person, that's just the way we talk. And it's something we have to learn to control. First of all, if you don't have to use your hands, try not to. Because while a lot of hand movements are as good, if we're doing it all the time, it doesn't mean anything anymore. So pick your spots as far as when to use hand gestures. Okay, so, put your hands down on the side when you want us to focus on your saying, but treat it like a prop. Make it meaningful if you're going to do something. Now, that hand motion I just did doesn't really mean much. And that brings me to our second point, which is hands moving is good. Hands talking is better. So let's put our acting hats on. If we're talking about trying to put our kid to sleep, this means nothing. But this, on the other hand, tells a story. So if one of the last speeches I did was about snowballs bouncing off my chest. So not only was I hitting myself in the chest, but what do snowballs do when they hit something? They break apart. So to kind of help with that problem, number one, make sure the hand movements you're using are timed right. They mean something. And then make sure your gestures, think of it like a game of charades. If you couldn't say anything, could only show it with your hands, what would you do? If you're carrying something, carry that box. If you're shining something, go ahead and shine. Change your hands from just moving to talking. I hope I did well on that question. Thank you for asking.
Excellent. Thank you.
You got it. Any other questions, my friends? Yes, Jim.
I might offer one thing. I apologize, it's not a question. I love your talk about body angles and positions and all of the different variations you have there, but only having one camera. For my body, staring at the camera, no matter where you are, for 7 minutes gets creepy. There's nothing that says you actually have to look at the camera all the time. And in particular, if your speech theme maybe has some ideas that you're thinking about. It was perfect when you went to, you were thinking about, shall we go to Q&A? Your eyes went up here because you were thinking about that. You weren't looking at us because it didn't make sense to do that. You were in your own head. So I think the staring at the lens for every second of your speech just isn't necessary.
100%. 100%. Especially when you're telling a story. If you have different characters you talk to. If your character's over here, talk to that character. If they say something weird and you want to address the crowd, feel free to do that. But yeah, you don't have to stare at the camera the entire time. Kathy, do I see your hand up?
Yes, I know this is maybe a question that I'll just throw it out. You've done well in speech contests. What from your evaluations that you've gotten from all of your practices and so on, do you think divides you from some of your competition?
Two things. I really tend to bring my stories to life. You know, I pour the energy in there, you know, the acting that I do. Here's the difference in what I do. A lot of people, when they tell a story, they tell it like they're describing something that's inside a box, and they never change that angle. They're always telling everybody what's inside this box. Whereas when I tell a story, I like to tell them what happened, the entire story of when I was filling that box, focusing on each and everything that I'm putting inside that box. So yeah, that's number one in terms of why I think I've done so well. Number two is, and a huge reason to get feedback from as many people as you can, is I corrected the unconscious things that I'm doing. This is the very first time I've given this workshop, and you've noticed my movement. And as much as I preached about movement, you notice a lot of times I was doing back and forth, and Jim's corrected me on this a number of times. It's something that I don't realize I'm doing, but as I polish and polish and polish, and people point it out, I get under control. So so really correcting those unconscious things that we're doing to make sure the things we are doing have purpose. Those are two huge things that I really bring into a speech contest with me. Yeah, and I'll throw in a third, which is clean up your speech as much as you can possibly can. I guarantee there are a lot of things in your speech that probably don't need to be there. It's our inner need to fully explain something, especially if it's true story, to explain all the lineage and where we were, what time it was, what date it was. A lot of that stuff doesn't need to be there in order to give your message. So clean up your speech so really you can make room for lots of emotional appeal. You put those three things together, you have a winning speech every time. Thank you, Kathy. I see I have the red. Any other questions? Okay, here's what I will do. If anyone has questions or things they want to talk about afterwards, I will put my personal email in the chat. Let me do my closing and I'll wrap it up so Colleen Marie can do closing comments and send us on our way. So remember, the stage is not just yours. It's not a monologue. It's not a serious lecture. This is a celebration. So the way you own the stage is by not being super protective and restrictive with it. It's a celebration. Get people involved. Get everybody on the stage. This is our party, not just mine. Invite everybody up there and really take them through all the motions with you. That means you have to describe it less. You can waste less time on telling people things that you could show them. Get everybody involved. So yeah, and lastly, here's what I'll say is I do have a handout to the speech because you don't need to just listen to me, listen to yourself and others. There's one handout and there's 3 questions on that handout that I want you to ask yourself and everybody you can come on in contact with. So number 1, what grabs your attention? Number 2, what holds your attention? And lastly, what makes you not want to pay attention? If you can ask as many people as you can those 3 questions, you're going to build a massive amount of material and reminders to what you should be doing to keep everybody engaged. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure being here. Colleen Marie, back to you.